being here today. But before we get started, I'd like to welcome our new commissioner here, Nora Kern. Nora, glad to have you with us now. All right. Thank you for willing to serve. Announcement, excuse me. If you're not satisfied with the decision made by Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancellor Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Do I have a motion on the approval of today's agenda?
I so move.
Have a first, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. Approval of the minutes from April the 11th, 2016. Do I have a motion?
I so move. Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Approval of the consent agenda for today. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the items be removed from the consent agenda. Rules of the public hearing: keep comments to 3 minutes or less. Each person representing will be expected to offer new information that has not been made previously. Once the public hearing has been closed, no additional comments will be heard unless the public hearing is officially reopened. On the consent agenda, we have two items, item number I and item number K. We're going to pull them off of the consent agenda and discuss them after we go through the items on the consent agenda.
I think we need a motion.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to remove items I and K from the consent agenda.
I second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Items on the consent agenda: Resolution 0516, modify speed limit from 40 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour on Tipple Road between Highway 100 and Ashbury Drive at Williamson County line. B, modify speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour on Akron Avenue between Orland Drive and Natchez Trace. C, modify speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 25 on 32nd Avenue between West End and Fairfax Avenue. D, modify speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour, Orland Drive between Ackland Avenue and 32nd Avenue. E, modify speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 25 on Belmont Avenue and Blakemore Avenue between 32nd Avenue and Natchez Trace. F, authorize an always stop at Akron Avenue at Marlboro Avenue. G, authorize always stop on Maplewood Lane at Lamont Drive. H, authorize stop Needles Court at Northwalk Drive. J, authorize valet stand on the north side of Union at 4th Avenue North. Hours of operation between 5 p.m. and 1 a.m., 7 days a week. L, authorize loading zone in front of 2017 Belmont Boulevard, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. M, authorize no parking on event days on both sides of Franklin Street at 1st Avenue South. N, authorize no parking or standing any time with tow signs on 49th Avenue North from Nebraska Avenue to alley number 1192. O, remove valet stand at 700 12th Avenue South. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a first and a second.
I will second.
All in favor say aye.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Of the staff? Chip, I noticed that all the speed limit modifications from 30 to 25 miles an hour are all, I call it in and around Love Circle area. Isn't that where those are?
That's correct, yes.
So is there, I'm just more curious, I'm not opposed to it, but is there something in particular driving the lowering of the speed limit?
There was a neighborhood meeting, and all these came up at the neighborhood meeting. We got the council member involved, and everybody said, sounds good to us, and so we went with the recommendation of the neighborhood.
Okay.
No, so nothing special, not a high crash rate or anything that you need to know about, but it was more of a community meeting that they all got together.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, I have a first. Do I hear a second?
I'd second it.
Have a first and
Letter N, before you vote, we have a request to discuss letter N, and I don't know the process for pulling something from consent from the audience, but I just saw somebody's hand raise up.
It looks like we have a Girl Scout leader here. Is that correct? Oh.
I'm the principal of Sylvan Park Elementary School.
Ma'am, would you?
Step forward,
Would you
please.
come over here to the mic, please, and state your name? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Susan Blankenship, and I'm the principal of Sylvan Park Elementary School. I'm actually here for new business number 3. However, I just caught that letter N on here also affects our arrival dismissal procedures at our elementary school. So
And Chip, that would need to be removed from the consent agenda.
Have a discussion.
Do we need a motion to?
Motion
Yeah,
to.
we need a motion to remove it from the agenda, first of all. Get that
Yes.
taken care of.
I move that we remove it from the consent agenda.
You-
I would second.
Oh, you talking about item N?
It sounds like we need to have a public hearing on that item.
Correct.
and it relates to number 3 on new business as well.
Okay.
So will you be able to stay and address that? Great.
Okay. On item N, authorize no parking or standing any time with the tow signs on 49th Avenue North from Nebraska Avenue at alley 1192. I have a first and a second to remove that from the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, on the balance of the consent agenda, except items N and K and I. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, Sarah Lee, I think you wanted to talk about item number I.
I'd like to see if we could get some, hear from the Councilman Pulley or get more from the neighborhood about why we're doing this.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is, the paperwork I brought just says convert the yield sign to a stop sign, which is somewhat common when people are rolling through the stop sign or whatever. But in this area, there's some unique geometrics to all the intersections out there. So, and my paperwork just kind of says, based on sight distance issues, let's convert it from a yield to a stop. But it doesn't have the answers to the questions you've asked me previously. So I'd like another month at least.
Thank
Is
you.
that okay?
Sure.
Defer for
great.
1 month on letter I.
So if you would, please make a motion to defer for a month.
I make a motion to defer item number I, modifying a yield sign to stop sign on Valley Brook Road at Bear Road
Have
for 1 month.
a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's deferred 1 month, Chip? Yes, sir. All right. Okay, Mary, item number K.
Yes, I just had some questions about this residential permit parking, so I was wondering if staff could clarify. I understand they currently have a permit for that area, and it's a change to that existing?
Currently, it is signed as permit parking from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, 2 hours for non-permit parkers. The request is to modify that to where you will be required to have a permit from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m., Monday through Friday, and all day Saturday and Sunday. By doing this modification, it will allow people that are conducting business in that area to go and park on that street while the residents are not at home.
Thank you for that clarification. I understand the council person also is requesting this change, and the residents are supportive of it. I think it's important that it's accommodating the businesses that are there. So with that, I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. All right, item number N, authorize no parking or standing any time with the tow signs at 49th Avenue North from Nebraska Avenue to alley number 1192.
She seemed to indicate this was relating to conversion of the alley.
Yeah,
Item
there,
Number 3, can we just,
there's some questions going on about the school arrival and dismissal. There's some residents in the area that are concerned about how the traffic patterns are working. Then we have the principal concerned about us making some changes, so help me out. But at least a 1-month deferral on N, and I'll meet with you, and that'll probably be my same recommendation on the next one too, after we rescind it, but. So, indefinite deferral on letter N, how about that?
Thank you.
Is that okay?
I'll make a motion to indefinitely defer item N, authorize no parking or standing anytime with tow signs on 49th Avenue from Nebraska Avenue to alley number 1192.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. All right, new business. Rate increase proposal from the Nashville Downtown Partnership. Mr. Russell.
Good afternoon. I'm Russell Payne, Vice President of Operations for the Nashville Downtown Partnership. Last time I was here, we typically come once a year and give some rate recommendations. And last time we were here, we were asked to come back a little earlier this time, give some additional rate recommendations. The effort here is to get the garages a little bit closer to the market rate. And I think we have some information for you here that points us in that direction. I will give you the caveat before we get into courthouse garage that we will come back probably in September after we've had an opportunity to take a look at some additional equipment that we've been looking at and make some additional recommendations for it in September. So first off, I'll start with the library garage. If you've got the paper in front of you, that's wonderful. If not, we can follow along with the PowerPoint. You can see that our last rate increase was made in August of last year, and that went from 115 to 125, and our special event rate went from $5 to $8, with the all-day rate going from 10 to 12. So this is what we look like currently. We are currently $1 per half hour, again with the $12 all day, $125 monthly, and the $8 special event. And what we want to do is we take a look at the surrounding parking area, or just proximate to the library garage, and take a look at what rates are currently being charged, what increments are being charged, what the monthly max rate is. And typically what we do is we just look at the averages, and if you'll take a look at the bottom there, I'm sorry, it's in blue, it's a little light. The current monthly parking average rate is $156, where we're at that 125 mark. As monthly parking becomes more of a commodity in that area, prices are going to continue to go up, so we need to keep pace a little bit faster. Everybody average occupancy is about 97%, and special event is anywhere from 10 to 30, with the daily max averaging about $17. What it is interesting to note is that the average cost per hour is about $7 an hour, and takes about 2.5 hours on average to reach that max. So that's what competitors, what surrounding facilities are doing. You can see that we've looked at McKendree, LNC, SunTrust Operations, and some of the other ones in the area. This next map shows you exactly what ones we have looked at, and gives you the ones that we take a survey from to gauge what our pricing should be. I'll move on fairly quickly to the next slide and give you the recommendation. It is to go from $12 to $13 all day. And it is interesting to note that the garage does reach maximum capacity virtually every day. which is why we are having some construction start in the middle of June. Will be after our big festival, so we do expect that to start in June. It obviously will have an impact, but we're looking at what's going to happen down the road when everything gets finished.
Do you, excuse me, do you know
yes.
when that will be finished, the construction?
It should be finished second quarter of 2017 is what we're looking at this point in time.
Is that to the parking garage?
Yes.
To add spaces?
It'll go up 2 floors, so it'll add 2 floors of parking with a third one on the top, so approximately about 350 spaces. It may be a little bit more or less when it's all said and done.
Will the garage still be open during the construction?
It will. It will cause some operational challenges, obviously. We anticipate losing about 160-plus spaces during that construction phase, but we will be managing that. We've begun working with our partners in that area to try and mitigate the impact.
Quick question.
Yes.
This facility has a lease with the office tower of the Renaissance Hotel. What is that, 100 and, how many parking spaces is that?
That is 175 parking spaces.
And so are they affected by this change, or they're under a separate agreement?
They are under a separate agreement, but they're going to be relocated to the level below us. So their level is impacted, but we've relocated them to the level below.
Okay.
So they're still going to have their parking available. Any questions on the construction?
I've got some on rates. Should I just wait till?
Sure,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
The other thing that I wanted to point out was that we have a proposed library garage rates. We always want to try and be sensitive to the library patrons and the amount of expenditures they have to incur when they come to the facility. Currently, they have a 90-minute grace period. What we are asking is that, or proposing rather, is that we move that up to a 2-hour and keep the grace period cost the same. So in essence, after 91 to 120 minutes, which is up to 2 hours, we keep that one static at the $1.50, which is what the current rate is. And then after that point in time, then it is incrementally changed to 50 cents additionally an hour. So after you get to that point, it's 50 cents additional an hour because we are recommending that the increments change as well as the monthly rate. So I'll talk to you about that. But that will cover almost 80% of the people that come to the library in that 2-hour period. So that's not going to have a major impact. And again, the next highest increment percentage-wise is about 8%. That's that next half hour. And then it drops off about 50% each increment down to about 1%. So 8% people may end up paying 50 cents more at that point in time, past that 8%. So large swath of people not impacted. You can see the next page talks about the transient rates. Again, we are looking at a 50-cent increase per half hour. We are $1 half hour currently. We are asking, recommending that it goes to $1.50 a half hour. So you can see how the fee ramps up. It will reach the regular transit maximum after about 4.5 hours. Again, if you remember the sheet that I talked to you about, the current market hits their daily max at about 2.5 hours. So we're still well under what the area hits on their max rate. So we give people 4.5 hours before they max out, whereas most folks only have to stay there about 2.5 hours. The next slide is just another recommendation that the library nested parking has traditionally not been affected by any monthly rate increases. We are requesting that that stay the same as well. And we are also suggesting on the next slide that the market rate for the nights, weekends, and special events, if you'll give me the next slide there.
Wait, just to clarify on that.
Sure.
Slide was low. I thought you said that it was going to stay the same, but it's $135 a month.
Yes, that is correct. We did change the weekend, night, and special event rates last time from 5 to 8. We are recommending that that stays the same. That is still, in essence, the same thing that the area has. That's for up to 8 hours, so it's really meant for you to come in the evening, stay 12 hours. After that 12 hours, you go into the maximum rate, but it is basically a 12-hour parking rate, and that's very typical. You can see the overview of the special event, the market recommendations on the next slide. It'll give you our current market rates, our current market rates, and the recommendations. So for monthly, 125, market at 156, go to 135. Daily max rate is 12 with a market rate of 17. We're asking that to move to 13 with a increment increase of 50 cents per half hour. So $1 half hour to $1.50 a half hour. So that shows you the hourly rate went from $2 to $3. And then the nights and weekends will stay the same, but you can see the market rates anywhere from $10 to $30. And I'll take any questions and would like to possibly implement this July 1.
So if I were lucky enough to be coming to the Predators tonight,
Sure.
if I could get a place, would my rate be $8?
If you come in after 5 o'clock, it would be.
Okay, but if I come in earlier, then it's going to slide.
Yes, then you pay the $1.50 per half hour. So if you stay over that 4.5-hour mark, right now, if you stayed 4 hours, it'd be $8. Whereas if you stayed 4 hours at the new one, it'd be $12.
Depending on how many overtimes, I guess, like the
Yeah, it really
restaurant.
does, and depends on when you get there. You know, they typically start at 7 or 8 o'clock, so that's why we did that 5
Sure.
o'clock time frame. That catches the majority of the people and allows us to let the business day traffic get out. We don't want to bump it back too early because then we'll really run into capacity issues.
What kind of communication will you have with people that patronize this starting under the construction, if people are coming for concerts downtown
Sure.
or used to parking there?
Sure.
Will they know that when they pull in that that's not available pretty quickly, or what do you recommend?
Well, we will put it out on our Park It Downtown. We'll put our rates changes out there as well. Typically, they know once they hit the entrance, but other than putting on our Park It Downtown website, talking about restriction in spaces, I think that's probably the best way for us to go. But then again, you know, we track the full, the capacity and put the full signs out when we're getting really close. So, you know, when we're within 25, 30 spaces of the gate raising up, we will typically put it out and let the queue come through.
Thanks.
I had a question about the nights and weekends. So typically, you're seeing the garage fill up, though, on those special events?
Yes.
I would think. I'm curious, why not go ahead and move to the $10 mark, since it was, I guess we moved it to 8, you know, and I realize the incremental changes, but I'm just curious your thoughts on.
Sure. I just think the $8 rate is a very economical rate. I think that's what it really is. It's a very popular facility. I think that if we get within the same rate, or if we get in, say, for example, if the one across the road is $10 and we're at $10, that I think it makes sense for us as a public parking facility to be just a little bit more reasonably economical. I also will give the caveat that we're about to expand to 350 spaces. So I think keeping that rate low as we, one, get rid of patrons and they have the ability to go somewhere else. That, two, once we open back up and have more spaces, we're going to want to fill those spaces. So if we are more on par with everybody else, we have a chance of not bringing those patrons back to us.
Yeah, I wonder if you need some flexibility then, that you could charge 10, you know,
Sure.
if you see later, or instead of having to come back before us.
Sure.
And that might be a question for legal, if that's an opportunity for that flexibility to be there, because I could see that would save you having to come up, that you could, and I do think it's important, you know, in riding the bus, the MTA system, it's, you know, $1.70 each way, and if you've got 2 people, you're getting close to that point where you're like, well, maybe I should drive. It'd be about, you know, $8 round trip for 2 people.
Sure.
So I'm just curious, just to keep it competitive with, the buses encourage people to use the transit system if that higher rate would be needed in the future. So legal, I guess, is that something we could approve? Is a higher rate as needed, I guess? Or as the garage, maybe we could stipulate it with the opening of the new garage, that they could increase it to $10?
Doesn't this just come back to us every year, right?
According to the
Yeah.
contract with the Nashville Downtown Partnership, any rate increases has to be approved by the commission.
Okay, and then it's whatever number that is, and that just stays continuous, so there's not an opportunity to,
Well, I mean, the opportunity, I mean, it would be just to come back and present. I mean, maybe that's another item on our agenda, another month delay for you guys, not be able to, but that is the code as it sits now. It just is per code. This body reviews any changes in that rate, even if it's a overnight change. You can't just go up and down on your rates without this commission approving it or seeing it.
And,
We've been there, I mean.
because it appears we have a consistent pattern of pricing a little bit lower than the market rate because this is a public garage.
Yes.
And this would be the one thing to where we'd be at a market rate. And I like the philosophy of trying to keep it affordable for folks with a public garage.
Me too.
I don't get to ask questions very often, so I do have a question, Russell.
Sure.
After you visited last time and we increased the rates, did you get any kickback, any feedback, any eggs thrown at you or anything?
No, quite frankly, we're very well priced. I will say the only feedback we did get was when we had to send out letters recently about some of the monthly contract parkers that did not have long-term contracts with us, just simply because that puts them in a very tough position to go out in the world, as it were, and pay a little bit higher rate.
Of course, that's
So-
usually a pretty good sign. If just about everything we do in traffic world, you're going to get a call, whether they like it. Some people like it, some people don't. So if you didn't get any feedback, that's
Sure.
positive.
Sure.
I had a quick question about
Yes.
the hourly rate.
Mhm.
It seems like most of the daily, the monthly and nights, weekends are a lot closer to the market rate, and the hourly rate is under half the market rate. So I'm just curious what why that is so much kind of off the pattern of the others.
Now, say that again?
The hourly rate that we recommended is $3 an hour, and the market rate is $7. And so that seems to be even lower than the pattern of the other
I think that
options.
keeps in step with the issue that it is a public facility, and that we have a lot of people coming to the library garage. It is called the library garage, but they're coming to the library, so a lot of people
But the
use that.
library patrons
Sure.
are getting the 2 hours for free, right?
They do, well, we're asking right now to get them for free.
What, where there's, yeah.
However, if we ask for a faster increment increase, they will get affected. If we approve the 2 hours at this point in time, anybody that stays over that 2 hours could go from, say, for example, if we did a $3 per half hour and it was a $6 rate, their number would go up substantially. It wouldn't go up 50 cents. It would go probably up to a $6 rate for the first hour for those folks if they stayed over.
Right, but I guess I'm a little, I mean, I guess I understand that, but
Sure.
it is a public good, and it seems like to offer it at such a discount off of market rate, when even our other parking rates are kind of follow about 80% of the market rate. It seems like it's a little bit, you're going to end up attracting people who are using the garage, not just to go to the library, but park there and then spend all day downtown because they know it's cheaper. And then it's actually filling up the garage, so people who are just going for the library can't find spots because you're reaching 100% capacity.
Sure. I think once we open up the garage, we can take a look at the rates again. At the end of the day, the majority of this garage is utilized for monthly parking. So it's a lot of contractual obligations out there. I don't disagree with you. It is substantially under the market. But I can come back and make recommendations again. And if you guys are interested, and ladies are interested in raising the rates, we can make a recommendation for you.
Not sure if this helps or hurts, but help me out, Russell, but you want your long-term parkers off the street and in their garage. That's pretty obvious.
Yep.
And so right now, our rates downtown on-street parking are $1.50 an hour. And so that's where you're kind of trying to balance out. Come in our garage instead of parking on the street.
Sure.
If you make it too expensive, they're going to just violate the parking meter probably.
They probably will.
Or walk or bike or take the bus.
That would be good.
Okay. Any other questions on library?
Thank you, Mr. Payne.
I'm going to give you a quick rundown of courthouse. It won't be as long. It won't keep you too long. If we'll go to the similar properties proximate to the courthouse garage.
Excuse me, are we going to vote on these together as one thing or separately? One
You
one
guys
item?
You go
Okay.
right ahead.
We're doing the courthouse.
We typically have done the rate increases unless there's a need to pull one out as,
It-
Okay.
It's always been together.
Thank you.
sorry. We'll go to there we are. Again, let's take a look at the monthly rate, 157 average, 16 all day, daily max of 1560, 575 an hour. We are in essence recommending, if we want to go ahead and pull to the last page and just give you a summary since I feel we're running just a touch long on it. We'll hit the last slide there. Or excuse me, a second to last. There we go. Current rates, 125, 157 market, recommending going to 135. We do want to keep the daily rate the same. We're not asking for an incremental rate change. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will come back in September and talk about the increments at that facility. The hourly rate right now is $4 an hour, $2 every half hour. So a little bit ahead of the library parking facility there. And then nights and weekends, we did the $5. It was the least expensive in the area. Took it to $5. Quite frankly, we haven't seen a huge uptick in traffic in that. So that really just tells us that ingress egress points are not optimized at that parking facility. Even though it is a very aggressive rate, we haven't seen a drop or an increase in traffic coming in and out. So in essence, for courthouse, we're recommending the monthly parking from 125 to 135. If I'll take a little time, we talked about last time about pay-on-foot stations, automating that subject was talked about. At the end of the day, the equipment we have right now is federal APD equipment. They were sold to 3M, I believe, in 2012. That equipment was purchased in 2013. 3M no longer manufactures that equipment. We do have warranty and sustainability for parts and warranty coverage on those through about 2018. So we're trying to find out, at the end of the day, what's the return on investment on investing pay-on-foot stations. They're fairly pricey. At least at this point in time, the recommendation is to wait just a little bit. We have some parking facilities in the area that are replacing equipment. We may be able to pick up some of that equipment for pennies on the dollar, put them in there, but we really just have to look at the ROI on that. That's why it's not being automated. The International Parking Institute is in Nashville this month at Opry Mills, so we will be going there, taking a look at the new technology and coming back and helping. That'll help us drive recommendations for what the next system needs to be.
I have a question, or staff, did you want to add, Rio? Chip, you were going to add something?
Looks like in this one, you're just adjusting that one monthly.
We're just adjusting the monthly at courthouse.
No,
And
I
I
didn't
had
have
thought
it.
that we had approved a higher night and weekend before, so that's not the case? It's been 5?
It has been, that's the max rate, but we do have the $10 special event.
Special event?
Yes,
Okay.
we do have a
Okay.
$10 special event.
Good, because I was thinking that that was the case. It's just not
Yes.
shown on here. Because again, I would just, want to see these rates competitive with the transit system that Metro provides, and feel like that rate really needs to be higher in order to be competitive with an all-day pass. It encourages drivers, and those nights and weekends, you've got people maybe
Sure.
not making right decisions when they're, and so I'd just rather see that to be a higher rate. And so what's the capacity? How is it filling up? What's the occupancy of the courthouse?
The courthouse it virtually hits capacity most days, but then again, its capacity really is related to monthly contracts. It is, because of it being a public facility, it is probably leveraged a little bit more as an economic development tool. So there are contracts that are fairly sizable and long-term that have allowed companies to move into the downtown area. And so they fill up quite a bit of that parking facility. So we don't have an awful lot of transient spaces out there. I think our number, I was trying to get you a percentage of what we have in the courthouse garage, but I don't have it right off the top of my head. But
Particularly nights and weekends, I'm curious.
nights and weekends, not full.
Yeah.
It's probably not even half full.
It's just special events?
This special events, it's purely special event driven. So raising the rates, anything past that 5 really just ain't going to do as much good until we really start seeing the traffic come out there.
Are you seeing more competition, parking space? What's the direction of the overall parking in that section of downtown? Is it increasing or decreasing? Because surface lots are kind of being developed. So.
Yeah, some of them are being developed. Most everything from my perspective is parks union down. People don't come up second and third. They're choosing to come down because it's a lot of special event stuff. They don't mind paying a one-time fee. They don't mind coming downtown. They will pay it. They will park on the meter. They will pay $20 to park for a special event. So virtually everything is union down is where they're at. The rates are definitely going up. So I think it's prudent for us to wait till we can try and get some more of that traffic in that parking facility.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Good question.
I'll make a motion. So.
Okay.
You ready? Motion to approve the rate increase proposal for Nashville downtown.
Have a first and a second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you, Mr. Payne.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, new business. Item number 2, request to provide complimentary parking in the Metro Courthouse Garage for 2016. Let Freedom Ring, July the 4th, Music City Concert. 50 spaces for Thursday, June the 30th, 2016, 7 a.m. arrival and departure in the evening. 50 spaces Friday, July the 1st, 2016, 7 a.m. arrival and departure in the evening. 50 spaces for Saturday, July the 2nd, 2016, 7 a.m. arrival, departure in the evening. 100 spaces for Sunday, July the 3rd, 2016, 7 a.m. arrival, departure in the evening. 250 spaces for Monday, July the 4th, 2016, 5 p.m. through 7 p.m. arrival and departure around 2 a.m. 50 spaces for Tuesday, July the 5th, 2016, 7 a.m. arrival, departure in the evening. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I just have a quick question, though, before we move forward with a motion. So it looks like, for the, as Russ explained, for the special event parking, that's, $10 a spot, and I calculate it's roughly, 5,500 spaces that we're providing, 550 spaces, so that's $5,500 that the garage is basically subsidizing the volunteer parking. And I realize it's difficult to get to get volunteers, but it seems like that it undermines people to carpool and take other means of transportation at such a low rate. It's free. And I know I've mentioned this before to the commission, but I really think, having MTA and working with other groups so that there's incentives, or maybe these volunteers park at the Nissan Stadium and then are shuttled over or something like that. But it gets to be a significant cost. Again, we're subsidizing, and, with Russ here, we just approved quite a bit of a rate, a a lower rate than what the market bears, but I wanted to mention that to the commissioners and talk about what ways we can do to maybe address this issue, if you will. Like I said, that over $5,000 is coming from Metro. That's, money that's not being spent on sidewalks or, bike lanes or other improvements or the transit system.
Well, this is the courthouse parking, which we already know on the weekend it's going to be down anyway. We just got that report, so.
Yeah,
I'm not
but this would be a
sure the number.
special event. So that's spaces that are being taken away from.
We've done this every year, though, right?
This request has been approved for a number of years.
Who requested?
It's the Conventions Visitor Bureau.
So,
These are their volunteers that work at the event, at the July 4th, that
Is-
music.
could we postpone this until next month and let them come and talk to us about, I think the money, being good stewards is very important. At the same time, we want to encourage volunteers to use other means. If you're like me, there's no safe way to walk to a bus stop. I mean, it's not a feasible thing with a lot of my friends because there are no
Sure.
sidewalks to walk to a bus stop, so your car's your only option.
Yeah, but
getting
then somebody
down
like me, I could be incentivized to ride. If I got a free bus ticket, I would just take the bus because it stops in front of my house. So I
Good,
wonder
but could
if
we,
there's a way to.
could we make a motion to postpone this and?
Well,
I've got a
Well-
question. So Chip, what happens to, during these days, particularly holidays, to the on-street public parking that's downtown? Is it free?
Well, during the day, it's still $1.50 an hour, and at night, it's free, and that's also in the code.
Is that typical, Chip, for every Saturday and Sunday? It's $1.50 an hour?
Sundays are free. Saturday is regular price.
Okay.
But this event is so big, there'll be so many closed streets, and
Sure.
there won't be any on-street parking available, most likely. It'll be all at Titan Stadium or wherever. Your point is well made. I don't know if this event's the time to be making that point. This is second to New Year's. This is probably the biggest event we have in Nashville every year. And it's bigger than New Year's.
Bigger than New Year's.
Yeah.
Last
But
year, we had
there
a
are
little over
plenty-
300,000 votes.
But isn't that even more reason to encourage people to take alternative transportation as much as possible? Because there are going to be already so many cars, so many people who need to park because they don't have an option.
We will have additional metro route, MTA routes. I'm sure they'll be increased and enhanced. We can defer it. It's up to this commission to take the vote how they want. This is a very big event. If we start messing with their parking and their
We've done
volunteers.
this every year.
Every year.
And it's,
Well, that's why, yeah,
Well,
I bring it up, and I think I've mentioned it in the past, but at
Well,
some point,
my
I really want to
question-
make a.
Okay, I understand, but my point is, I think we need to try to, if we're going to be trying to create alternative incentives, we need to be doing it at a point in time that's not 2 months prior to the event.
Right.
We need to be,
Right.
someone needs to come with a more comprehensive plan than just looking at these set of parking spaces, because there is, as you mentioned before, Chip, there's a dynamic of on-street parking, there's also the dynamic of whatever there is, MTA, et cetera, et cetera. So this is one piece of this, and it really seems if we're going to try to approach and create these other incentives, we need to have more of a plan than, I mean, I'm like everyone else.
It may start with the event organizer.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving away these parking spaces, we encourage them to encourage transit or riding bike
I mean,
for these volunteers, that
That's a
kind of
great
thing.
point. At least just putting it on their website where there's other modes, where you can park your bike, just different alternatives. And so when they're sending that information out there, and then I should mention, some of these days that the special event is not going on. So they're going to need equipment and we want to welcome as a city, and that they wouldn't be able to carry all that equipment taking these other modes. So, and I think Commissioner Green made a good point too. It is difficult to draw the line here, but at some point we need to say, not draw the line, that's a little harsh, but that we need to be proactive. And if we're going to give away parking spaces, why not bus passes and some other things to encourage
but
patrons?
these are the workers, right?
These are
The
volunteers that
volunteers
are working the
are gonna
event.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
And
the
you know,
idea
they
of a
need a break.
carpool, if I'm going to work, I mean, this is a one-time event that they're
Right.
coming down to work. I think it's sort of weird to expect them to carpool. I mean, they're working a lot of hours. They're getting off extremely late. 4th of July night, I mean, we're talking, there is no transit for them at this time in the morning.
That's right.
That's
So, I mean,
And-
there's no transit available for them. You can't see them at 4 in the morning, you know, even on bikes at that time. It's dangerous. So, I mean, this is just something we've done as long as I've been on this commission, 7, 8 years.
And the main thing, Baronis, it encourages these people to work,
To work, yeah.
knowing that they got a place to park.
But if they did want to ride the bus, then they've got to pay for that. So it does incentivize driving. So someone like me would, and so I think looking at options, where the bus can run late, where people could park further away and ride in, or some options like that I think are important. So with that, I hope for we know it's coming, New Year's Eve. And so with that, I really want to be proactive and think of some other ways to tackle this issue.
Could we ask to put on the agenda for them just to come and educate? This is great, this is an event we have, this, because we provide this is how much revenue we generate, goodwill for Nashville, a lot of the things we're doing, that they could just come and tell us, not 2 months before, but perhaps after Labor Day, when they're getting ready for planning for next year.
Getting to the issue about the MTA bus, just personally speaking, a lot of times when I look to go downtown, the reason why I drive is because I'm going to be late, and there's no buses running back, and I live on a bus route.
Right.
There's no buses running back down where I live
Oh, that late at night.
late at night. So that's the reason why, my point is, we need a more comprehensive approach than just taking, because it seems to me we're more just hurting these people that are volunteering than we're providing them with. My view is, if you're going to take something away, then provide something in exchange the other way, that's a solution to the problem, as opposed to, my perception, this is just affecting these volunteers, and we're not really giving them a range of
What if you're a
options.
volunteer and you don't live on an MTA route?
Well, I think there are solutions to that, and I think Mary's point is just encouraging, as the city is changing rapidly, to consider other options. Could they subsidize Lyft or Uber rides for N Transit, so that they're only just thinking of other options and not thinking of driving as the only possible way, because a lot of people are, especially visitors, are using other options. And so I think just encouraging the festival to do the same as all the attendees and consider all the many different modes that could be used. Whether it was, a lot of events have, discount codes on Lyft and Uber one way, and you can get a bus pass. So there's a lot of other options out there that I
So
think can be considered.
It's not an easy solution, and I'm glad we had this discussion. I feel like a lot of good points came out. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you.
You want to defer this one, Chip? Number 3?
Well, no, I don't.
Here.
I want to,
With the Girl Scouts.
last month, we approved making it a one-way out. I know we have no shot here. I mean, that's pretty good. Last month, you approved making an alley, I don't know the number of the alley, it's probably on here, 1192, one-way westbound.
Remember that?
No, one-way westbound. After last month's meeting, I found out that the school arrival and dismissal traffic flow utilizes that alley going eastbound. And so we had a problem right off the bat. Now we got a do not enter sign out there at that alley, and that's the alley her parents used to come and go to school. So what we were going to do this month is rescind last month's decision to make that alley 1192 one way. And let's just start over from scratch, meet with the school, meet with this resident who doesn't want these cars in their alley, see if we can figure something out, and kind of go back to start. That's what N was,
Okay.
or whatever that was. Start from scratch. Let's go back to the beginning.
Make a motion.
Because, Chip, I've got a question. I guess I think of alleys as service streets or service streets, I guess, not as these kind of ingress and egress for what appears the way it may be being used. Is that what it, is it basically an ingress, egress point for schools?
Yeah, it's,
Because, I mean, I have a similar contention with Belmont University using
it's,
the
I
alleys
think
behind my
it's to
house
avoid,
for this.
you know, you've been around schools around with dismissal,
right.
it's chaos.
Yes,
15
they
minutes
are.
of crazy. But I think they're cutting through these alleys to avoid getting back in that traffic line. And you're right, it's either access to a home that doesn't have a driveway typically, or it's a service for garbage pickup. At the same time, it is public right-of-way, and it's for transportation, and there's nothing wrong with going through an alley. It's not against the law. Speeding in an alley is, and that's what we're hearing here. Just so you can tell, there's just so many ingredients going in here. We just wanted to stop and take a listen to what you have to say.
So you want to start over?
I want to start over, but go ahead.
First, Chip,
All right.
excuse me, if you could make a motion to rescind.
I get to make a motion?
Well, not you, and
Oh.
someone needs to make a motion to rescind, and per the
Is
rules.
that what number 3 is? Number 3 is a motion to rescind the conversion. Well, we need a motion. I make a motion to approve number 3.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
So
what you
so that's good, right? We're good there? So on my way in, I was talking to a coworker, and he's talked to the citizen that has a concern, and he was going to call you and meet out there one morning and observe what's going on and see if we can all get together and figure out what to do without putting up do not enter signs. Maybe we do, and maybe we go back to the do not enter. I don't know. But we at least go out there with you one day and see how the traffic flow is working or not working.
And my understanding is that the current
Turn your mic on, please.
That first button.
Yeah. And what is your name?
Susan Blankenship.
Okay.
My understanding is that the current traffic flow comes from before I was there and was recommended, I don't know, maybe from a similar type situation. And so for 3 years, we've had the same flow. So I really am just asking for some help in looking at better options if that is not the option we need to be using. The other one that I know was on here today is coming from the neighbor in the back who built a house almost on our playground and now can't get to her house 15 minutes a day because of our pickup procedures that come in because the parents come down, the alley between Nebraska and 49th behind the school for pickup. So, you know, obviously,
Is it?
the alley that we're discussing with number 3, you actually, it is,
Right there with the arrow.
Is it right there?
it's 49, yeah, that's it.
Looks like 49th Avenue continuing?
Right,
That's
go
not
down the street.
49th. That is not 49th.
Okay.
That is an alley. 49th actually runs parallel to 48th behind the school. So what's labeled as 49th is actually the alley.
Okay.
And 48th is one-way southbound for certain times of the day.
Very weird.
And it was approved a couple of years ago, like you said, probably before you
Before
got
me.
there. And so for 2 times a day, it's a one-way street. And it's,
For like 15
let's
minutes,
just go back
maybe
and look at
30.
it. Let's do a redo.
Well, that sounds good to me, because yes, the way that 48th is one way coming towards Nebraska, what ends up happening is if our parents don't use that alley, they get down to Nebraska and they can't turn because we have backed up Nebraska on parents waiting to get into the back of the school. So it's just a mess. And we have no drop-off pickup lines. We were built prior to that. We're a neighborhood school, so we just don't have the capacity to do that. So any help would be much appreciated.
Well, let's meet sometime before school gets out in 2 or 3 weeks. And
Sounds good.
and we'll brainstorm. And during the summer, by the start of next school year, you might have a new traffic plan. How about that?
Thank you. Now, I do have to recognize, can you all bring up
Yes,
your
I
poster,
was
please?
going to ask about the Girl Scouts.
Yes,
working
they
on
are
a
working
merit
on
badge?
their badge for inside government. So since this was relevant to their school, they actually have created a drawing for you. May they
Oh,
bring it
great.
around for you to see? Go ahead and just take it around so they can see.
All right.
So they have pictures of the one-way signs that have gone up, as well as the map showing our traffic
Okay.
flow.
I want to commend you for bringing the Girl Scouts, because I'm a Boy Scout leader, and I take my Boy Scouts about every other year to Metro Council meetings for their citizenship and the community merit badge. So
Well, we had, the troop leader thought this would be an excellent way to make it relevant.
It is a wonderful, wonderful, great. So thank you for bringing them. And is Teresa, is one of those your daughter?
Let's,
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
your
much.
comments.
Thank you.
Old business. Item number 1, appeal parallel parking only on 2010 Belmont Boulevard requested by Joe Johnston.
Jim, this is the second time this item's been on the agenda, and that Mr. Johnston has not showed up. So
that's correct.
can we just, I'd like to remove this item, and
You did it.
please.
Make a motion to.
I make a
Make a
motion to
motion.
remove this item from the agenda.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? None. All right.
He needs to be
Thank
like Mr.
everyone for
White,
coming.
show up.
Sergeant, Captain.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
First and a second. Thank you.
Belmont.
Yeah.